This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to the Voice for Fitness Professionals podcast, where I share programming, marketing, and promotion strategies that are easy, enjoyable, and even fun, so you can create a business and a life you love. And in this episode of the Career Optimization series, I'm joined by Tom Durkin, operating manager of Ames Racquet and Fitness Center and Fitness World locations in Iowa. In business for 39 years, inside of 6 buildings every day, and at least 5 staff meetings weekly, with over 350 employees. He knows something about hiring, training, and keeping or leaving employees. So listen up. Tom, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to join us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So the backstory, we have to provide the disclaimer. Tom and I worked together in Ames, Iowa. So at Ames Racquet and Fitness Center, I was the personal training director for about 6 years. Did probably a poor job of doing group fitness direction a little while before that. And we both knew I needed to get out of there. So here we are. And I went to Tom because very few people can say, no matter where they are in the world, that they have 39 years of successful, profitable fitness business. So when you want to talk to somebody who's actually done it every day and who's done it successfully, you're the guy.
Well, thank you for those kind words. You know, it is true that I've been in it for 39 years, and fitness has changed. You know, the business has changed a great deal. But I really, I got into it years ago because I really believed in the mission. I really believed in, helping people. And I just think that, you want to take care of yourself, and we wanted to give them facilities and staff for people to maximize their life. So it's been quite a journey, and I've enjoyed most of it. Lots of challenges and lots of changes, but it's always a pleasure to talk to you and to talk about the changes. And I always learn quite a bit talking to you. And even after 39 years, you think I would have it figured out, but many days I'm scratching my head.
Well, okay, so let's give this kind of basis. Let's tie this back to the very memorable quote that you gave us. And, that was answering the question that everyone here in the series is answering is what I wish I would have known before I got into personal trainer before we got into personal training. And, of course, you're giving it from a different side of, the desk or the gym or the bench, if you want to call it that, than some of the trainers and fitness professionals that we're having on. But for a really good reason, I think it's really important to hear what you have to say. And your answer to that was?
My answer to that was this. I thought, or I didn't know, that I was going to have to find and sell 95% of all the personal training clients for the personal trainers. I thought they could. What my mistake was yesterday and today and probably tomorrow is I thought they would be more equipped and easier to train, that they could sell their own sessions. And I was wrong.
So knowing that, and me unfairly potentially knowing the way your pay rate and commission is set up for your personal trainers, what would you have done differently with the way you reimburse trainers or pay them, hire them?
Yeah, I should have did it hourly. So, currently I think when we get started, it's a commission-based. So whatever the rate is, they take a certain percentage. 50% a lot of times is the national average. And I would have done it on an hourly basis in hindsight. This, I'm so far down the road now, it would be pretty hard to change. I mean, we've got, 55 trainers. And we did, 60,000 sessions last year. And so to change that would be, take quite a bit of effort and a lot of time. And I don't know if but I'm just saying in hindsight, knowing now, I would have made that be an hourly deal.
So if a trainer was to show up on your door and be someone that you were really excited about hiring, what would be the skills and the traits, qualities that they'd have?
I think the number one thing, first of all, you got to have the educational foundation. You've got to have a degree. And so, you got to be sellable. But the biggest thing I would say is that you need to have a willingness to be able to market yourself. And you need to have a willingness to maybe go where you're a little uncomfortable right out of the gate. Personal training is exploding. And, the people that really need it, the customers that really need it, they're not going to maybe seek you out. They're not going to call you 2 or 3 times. What they're going to do is buy a membership, and they're going to go through the gym 3 or 4 times, and you're going to be able to see that customer, and the skill set that you need are going to be confidence, skill set to sell yourself, skill set to separate yourself from other trainers. You're going to be able to build value in what you do and the service that you do. You're going to be able to need to reach them and communicate with them. And if they don't say yes on the first time or second time, have the skill set to follow up on them. And once you do capture them as a client, deliver. And I'm just here to tell you that's hard to find. And it's really hard to train.
Yeah. Would you say that, we know there are a lot more personal trainers today in 2018 than there were, say, 3 years ago, and definitely than there were 5 years ago. And then when you look at the average, there may be more people doing personal training sessions, but if you look at the national average, the percent of adults exercising in order to change their health or improve it has not changed. That statistic since 30 years ago has not changed. So we're either exercising more, training the same people more frequently, or kind of passing the same group around. And so are there some trainers out there, you suppose, starving?
Yeah. Well, you say, is there some trainers out there that what's starting?
That are starving, that are struggling because they cannot
absolutely.
market themselves. They cannot shake somebody's hand.
I would say 70% of them are. You go around America, go to any gym you want, any day you want, you pick it. And if there's 10 trainers in there, 7 of them are really struggling. 7 of them have part-time jobs. They work part-time as a trainer, part-time doing something else. And, the fitness industry, like we mentioned at the top, I've been in it 39 years, and it is pretty darn strong. And so we're doing something wrong. But, but let me just back you up a second. It's not easy to train these skills. And, you really need a mentor. You really need someone who can sit down. And you have to have somebody who's walked the walk, Deborah. You can get your education, and that's great. But then the next step is, what are you going to do with it? And where I get my frustration, there's so much stuff out there in social media, and they've got a lot of followers. But when you really research it, they've never walked the walk themselves personally. So, one of the reasons, full disclosure, as you mentioned at the top, you've walked the walk. I've seen what you've done. You took the program in a small conservative community and built it, had tremendous success. And the way you did that was by building the trainer, sitting down and working with the trainer. I remember having a conversation with you in the hallway. And I know you'll remember this one. And you hired a trainer. Right, you hired a trainer. And I walked down the hallway, and she was going the other way, and she would not make eye contact with me. And I grabbed you, and I said, hey, either fix that or you got to get her out of here. And you sat down with her. I don't know exactly what happened. And over a period of time, she completely transformed. So she had that skill set in her. But you've got to have someone who can sit down and communicate that and train that and explain that and nurture them and help them with sales and show them the steps. It's not that easy. And so unless you find someone who's actually physically done it, your chance of success drops off dramatically. So, but back to there's 70% of them don't have that skills. When I travel and go to different fitness centers, and I go to a lot of them, I never, in the last 5 years, I've never had a trainer walk up to me on an exercise floor anywhere in America and say to me, hey, my name is so-and-so. How you doing? I've never seen you before. Here's what I do. Can I help you do something? Can I explain this to you? Let me show you this. Never. So, I mean, I think that's how it is. And if you as a trainer had that one skill, that would separate you from the pack. So.
Okay, so we're going to come back to that, circle back to getting those skills and some suggestions that if you're listening, you don't have marketing skills, you don't have sales skills, let me just tell you that the answer is not taking Marketing 101, all right? So that was a spoiler alert. But I do want to ask you, because you said you're in a lot of fitness centers, you visit them when you travel, and, as you would, and you may not know this from behind the scenes, but I do know that because you have a great reputation as being successful, and in the Midwest, in a conservative environment, you get calls from people who own fitness centers. So I'm asking you this, thinking you probably know, I mean, how today, so when you got into it, you got in before personal training existed, and then you kind of had to grow up with it, realizing, oh my gosh, we didn't know it was going to be this big. Had we known, we might have done something different. But now, people who are opening and they do see the potential with personal training, I mean, what are you seeing as, what's the common way people are setting it up? Are they setting it up as commission-based? Are they setting it up hourly? Can a trainer expect that they will have benefits, when they go to work now?
Yes. I mean, so going forward, to answer your question, I still think a lot of people, a lot of fitness centers, when they open, they can't afford the labor cost. So labor is your number one expense in about any business. So the average guy goes and opens a fitness center, and he wants personal trainers. Well, he doesn't want to pay them hourly. He can't afford to pay them hourly and have them not market themselves. So, so he can't afford to pay you and sit around. And, you can't market yourself. You can't drive revenue. So that's an expense to him. So he puts you on this 50% commission or whatever the percentage is, and hopefully thinking that he's going to be able to train you to build your own business. Well, unless the owner or the manager, whomever, has physically done it himself and has got a lot of experience, that's pretty tall order. And, the second thing I would say to you is next to the membership number. So membership's the number one driver of fitness. It's kind of like the football team in college, the number one revenue maker. Personal training is number two. And I always think now, because it seems to me that my customers that do personal training are on social media. They're out there. They're talking about their trainer all the time. Is that, people talk about your gym and they talk about doing exercises, but not to the extent that they do if they have a good personal training experience. And so the personal training, not only the dollar amount has become really significant to fitness centers for their profitability, but also from an advertising standpoint, if you've got good trainers who can market themselves and drive themselves and promote business, it's worth a lot. But it's when I say 70% of them can't do it, that's probably conservative. So it's just a skill that you have to have. And if you don't have it, I mean, don't be discouraged by it. You can get it, but you got to hire the right coach. You got to hire the right trainer. And but without it, and if someone came in, Deborah, so let's say tomorrow morning somebody came in and they had these skill sets, that in the interview. So what I do is I role play. I say, okay, I'm going to go over there and stand by that chair over there. I'll go over here and do this exercise. You come over and introduce yourself. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me how you can help me. And we grade them out in a role play. And no matter what their resume says, when they have to go into that role play, if they don't have those skill sets, that really separates them. I mean, it's like a deer in the headlights. And so then you've got to determine, well, okay, so if I hire this person, how much time do I want to invest in them before, they're going to start making money? So.
Yeah, great example. Okay, so you've mentioned hire a coach. So what are some other ideas? So is there a book, or where else could, a new trainer, a student, or even a struggling trainer right now got some experience with training, but either not renewing, not retaining, or not getting your own new clients, and that's something that you're struggling with, and we all get it. I got it. As a personal training director, it was really easy for me to promote the program, to promote my trainers. And, when I got behind building my own programs and went to launch for the first time, I was like, do I really want to push this button? Why me? Why would they want me? All that self-doubt, I think it can grab anybody and throttle you. But, how do we get through that? How does a brand new trainer get through that? What resources have you read, seen, heard, courses, anything?
No. Well, there's a couple. I've read recently. When I say recently, the last 120 days. There's a book called "The Brand Called You," and in that book it separates. It talks about how you distinguish yourself from everyone else. What can you do to separate yourself? Because, to the average customer, the average guy in the treadmill, he sees all these trainers. And so what separates you? You dress the same. You walk the same. You're in the same building. So how does he know a good trainer that's going to help him versus someone he's going to give him money and he's not going to get the results he's looking for? And so where that comes from is that when you can separate yourself with your confidence, with your marketing skills, with your follow-up, and the other thing, with your consistency. I hear so many times, I can't tell how many times I heard this next sentence. Here it comes. Well, I called him twice and he never called back. I emailed him twice and he never got in contact with me. Well, I texted him a couple times. Well, that's the first sign of failure. You've got to understand that most of these people, it's going to take more than 2 emails or 2 phone calls. Your people skills are not that good to inspire or motivate or to get somebody off the fence. And so where you win is when the customer really thinks you want to work with them, and you show that patience, and you show them that, hey, you'll continue to call them, you'll continue to work with them. The second book I really, really liked was Shoe Dog, and it's the story of Nike. And the reason I like that book is it talks about this perseverance. It talks about how difficult it was. You think of Nike as a worldwide brand. But to get that company started and to what he went through. And I think that's the struggle. That's the struggle, whether you're going to build a world-class shoe company or you want to build a world-class personal training company or a world-class business. It gets down to you. And so, like we tell people all the time, your body's got limitations. Your mind does not, and that's why they call it personal training. So what I would tell any young trainer out there is that make sure, it's great if you can do all those exercises, but if that customer doesn't know that you can communicate with them and take care of them and you're going to be able to follow up with them and have the skills to market yourself, you're not going to go very far. And so if it was me, if I was 22, 23, 24, 25, whatever, and I was a personal trainer, I would sit down with someone who's walked the walk, take the courses, and pick their brain as far as what I need to grow, because the business is going to continue to grow like you and I talked. Even in the last 5 or 6 years, it is growing tremendously. And 5 or 6 years from now, it'll be even bigger. So they just need to get those skill sets, but make sure that you get authentic people. That's the key. There's so many, and I don't want to say wannabes out there, but they've never done it. You can't read it in a book. Your education is one thing, but you need someone who's actually had boots on the ground. And someone like you, for instance, who's actually done the work, who's actually built programs, who's hired trainers who couldn't look me in the eye walking down the hallway, and then you converted them. And so it takes that kind of mentorship.
Got it. And I want to touch base on something that you just said was, it's going to get bigger. And I think I think we have to be careful with that. If you're listening, that may sound like, oh, it's going to get easier. But actually getting bigger means you as a trainer will have more competition. There's more noise. There's more of you. That mean you have to be able to separate and create a message and create a unique brand around who you are, so you can answer the questions. Why you, or why the business you're working for, or have a great answer to both those questions. Why did you choose that business you're working for if it's not your own or you're not a solo entrepreneur? And then why now? And those three questions are key. If you can't answer them and come on pretty strong, then how will your customer ever figure out why it should be you?
And that's exactly right. And good catch. And the other thing is the customer expects more because of social media, because of reviews, right, wrong, or indifferent. They expect more. And what I tell these trainers is that, just be the guy or be the gal. Just because once you get, like you mentioned, a reputation or you get a brand, people wait in line to get that brand. And I'm saying right now it's an open field. Think of, wherever you live, whatever state you're in. Who's the number one trainer in your state right now? No one knows. Maybe you know. Maybe you think, oh, this guy's really good or that guy's really good. But there's no definitive. That needs to be you. And I would say every state is the same. And so from that standpoint, from someone brand new, young, coming into the field, I think it's a really, really exciting time to come in. And if you've got those skills, you can write your own paycheck. And not only can you write your own paycheck, we'll go back to my 39, you get to do the right thing. You can make money a lot of ways. But, helping people feels pretty darn good. And getting people healthier and happier, so they can spend more time with their family or pursuing what they want to do, pays big dividends. So, just make sure whoever you're talking to is the real deal. And do your homework. I mean, do the research before you talk to these people or hire these people. And so, because it'll make a difference going forward.
Great tie together. And I'm going to point listeners to the episode in this series with my interview with Dave Smith. And, back to being the best in the state, in your state, I would hesitate to, have somebody thinking that they have to be the best in everyone's eyes in that state. You want to drill down, and you want to be the best in a small niche, and go deep in that niche. And you're not looking for the most fans or the most followers. I mean, that is not necessarily the most well-off trainer, who's enjoying freedom because their finances are in order. And I think that's what we all seek, not just the reputation of being the best, but we seek, do we have freedom and flexibility in our lives so that we're building a life along with, the career that we love. That's kind of the key. And the distinctor is, make sure that there are a certain number of people who are willing to pay you well for your help and your support, who think you're the best in your state, and you are the one that they would go to for maybe a recommendation for something you're not the expert in. But if you're the go-to, that's, I think, what you're really looking for.
Right. Well, I mean, you want freedom? Get paid more.
Yeah, right.
I mean, don't charge what that guy charges. Charge 4 times what he charges.
Yeah.
But then you got to be worth it. So if you want freedom, work 75% less than all the other trainers, but you need to get paid. And that's exactly right. When you dig deep and people recognize you as a specialist, when people say, I've got an issue, this person can take care of it, I'll wait in line for them. I know they're 4 times more expensive than that guy, but I want to win. I want to get these results. In the meantime, you've got freedom because you've got the revenue coming in, and that feels awful good. So,
great wrap-up. So listeners, if you have a question that we did not answer today, leave it below the show link at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/podcast. And I'd appreciate you leaving a rating in iTunes, and I'll put that link below as well. Check out the blog and other podcast episodes in this series at fitnessmarketingmastery.com.